Welcome to the Midlife Purpose Show, where women 40 and over tap into their true calling and step into careers aligned with their purpose. Hello, I'm Yannick Said, your host. I'm a transformational life and career coach, specializing working with women at midlife who are looking at transitioning into new careers and help them navigate through the life transitions that they go through as they go into that journey. In today's episode, I would like to talk about signs that could indicate that it's time for you to reconsider what you are doing, considering a career change, change of position. I will talk about seven signs that are an indicator for you to consider that maybe now it's time to make a change. So, the first one, talk about constant lack of fulfillment. You know, it's like you're going through the motions over and over, and you feel like, what? What am I doing for? What is it contributing to? Or just feeling that you're going through the motion on a hamster wheel with no purpose, no direction, no understanding. It just is. So do you ever feel like that? Once in a while, we might have a day when that's how we feel because of the different circumstances. I'm talking about when it's a constant in your life, when it's talking about going to work, the thought of going to work, or when you're at work, and that's the feeling you have that you have a lack of fulfillment in what you're doing, that is a sign to pay attention to. So, what you could look at, is there anything in your job where you could align or integrate some of your interest? That could be a way to bring some fulfillment in your work. And if this is not possible, then it is maybe time to look at something else. Because it might mean that your job, your career, your position is no longer aligned with you. Because as we go through our life, we are going through constant changes, and it's normal. Some individuals, from the time they're little, they know exactly what they want to do, and this is what they end up doing, and they're happy throughout their whole career. And that's okay because it is really aligned with them. It's a sense of purpose, gives them satisfaction and fulfillment. Yes, for some, that's the way it is. For others, depending on your life experience or work experience or on the different uh, things you've been exposed to, experience, challenge that molds you and change and transform you and provided some growth, you might find yourself in a situation where you are is no longer aligned with you. I'll give you an example. The hermit crab, he finds a shell to make it its home. And as it grows, again, he has to vacate that shell and find one that will fit it. So that's the analogy I'd like to make. And the next one, number two, dreading each work day. I'm not talking about the occasional time when there's a challenge or a situation that you really don't want to deal with. We all have those. Even as if you're an entrepreneur, there's moments where you have to deal with a situation and it's really not uh, appealing or something that you dread. That's normal. I'm talking about when every day you dread the thought of going to work. I remember at one point in my career, I was in a position and the situation, and I didn't realize at the time, but every day, this is how I felt. The thought of going to work made me sick. It made me sick to my stomach. I didn't want to get out of bed. Actually, I had body aches. I thought I had the flu or something else until somebody pointed out to me that maybe it's because I'm dreading going to work. And I didn't see it that way. I just thought, I'm feeling sick. My stomach is upset. I'm sore. But when I stop and look at the reason why I was feeling that way, what was the cause, and also looking at what environment was awaiting me for me in the workplace, I realized it wasn't me. My body was telling me this was not good for me, but I had ignored it until somebody pointed it out to me. So I was dreading work, but I didn't know I was dreading work. I just knew that I had those symptoms, hence why I didn't go to work. So that's one. Number two. Number three, frequent daydreaming of other careers. You are doing your work, whether you're at home after work or you're at work and you have a break or you catch yourself, we all daydream or, we are caught in our thoughts. And those thoughts are of you being somewhere else, doing something different, a different career, a different company, a different organization. So think about that. If your mind goes somewhere else where you think and you'd like to be, consider that you might be in a position where you should investigate and see how you can get where you want to be, where you're dreaming to be. Because our mind also tells us about ourselves, subconsciously. We don't always do it consciously, but your subconscious knows, okay, this is where you need to be. We don't always recognize the signs. So think about that. I'm not talking about the odd time, when we think about something extraordinary, It's like, oh, wouldn't that be cool to be going in outer space, to be an astronaut? The occasional one, one of, and it's just fleeting moment. It's not constant. Everybody has a dream, but I'm talking about when it's a recurring dream that you see yourself, actually seeing yourself doing something else. We talk about manifesting. To manifest what we want, we have to think about and look in your future manifest and see how it's going to be, see ourselves where we want to be. Therefore, if you're daydreaming of somewhere else, a different career, a different position, you're doing something different, it's a sign that it might be time to consider how to get to where you're dreaming. And number four, and I just touched on it. Well, let's talk about it. And that is one sign we don't always acknowledge. We always try to justify it for another reason. When we talk about number four sign is physical and mental exhaustion. You know, when you are experiencing chronic stress, health issues can emerge. But when the symptoms, the physical symptoms or emotional symptoms emerge, we don't always understand the root cause of it. We are thinking more about, oh, this is how I feel. Let's go see a doctor. Let's get it fixed or whatever. Not necessarily understanding why we feel that way. I'll give you an example. There was one time I the alarm clock went off. And actually I was awake before it went off because I wasn't sleeping well. I was always awake before the alarm. And I waited for the alarm to go off to get up and go on with my day. And one day, I'll never forget that day, my whole body hurt so badly. I could barely roll over to shut the alarm off. I eventually did. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm in so much pain. I cannot go to work. I had to call in sick because I could not move. It took everything I had to grab my phone and make that call. And I kid you not, when I made that call, pain subsided. I was exhausted and I eventually fell asleep. I didn't realize what was happening at the time. It's years later when I look back, I realized it was one of the signs, but it took me a while, quite a while after to realize it was time for me to go and seek where was better for me, where was suited for me. You know, you can outgrow a position, you can outgrow an environment like the hermit crab. And that's what it was. And I didn't realize that. But we're talking about physical exhaustion, manifestation in your physical being. We'll talk about pain, mental exhaustion. You know, have you had moments when even the simplest task is difficult to perform, or you go, I just don't have it in me to do it? Mental exhaustion. It could be something simple, and we just don't have the energy to do it. Have you ever felt that way? I know I have. So keep an eye out for that. Next one, number five, stagnation with little room to grow. And that happens a lot when you've been working at the same thing for a long time, doing exactly the same thing. And for some, that's what they want, and that's all right. But when you feel like there's more that you can give, there's more that you like to do, and you feel like you're stagnating, because everything I'm talking about, it's personal. So when you feel that way, and you look at opportunities within the organization or your unit and see if there's any room for growth and discover that no, there is nothing else that you could do to get you out of that oomph, to get you out of that rut, to get you to a place where you can grow because that is what you seek, because you're feeling that you're stagnating, going nowhere. So if that's how you feel, and you realize that where you are no longer can give you what you seek, what you need, it's another sign. So keep an eye on that and see if this is how you feel. Look at how you could bring more to what you're doing within your organization. You could ask for assignments or different tasks to your manager, supervisor. And if it's not possible, and sometimes it's not necessarily to get a promotion, but you want to add on because you have more skills that you want to hone, or you have an interest in learning more. And it could be enough for you. The point I'm making is if there is no way to meet the need, this particular need that you have, it is a sign again that this where you are now is not aligned with who you are anymore. Also, talking about values. When your personal values are a mismatch with the organization, when it doesn't align with your personal values, specifically your core values, and I talked about core values in another episode, and I bring it up because our core values are our compass. Those are our non-negotiables. This is what we stand for. Then if an environment or an organization where you work is not aligned, is mismatched with your values or your long-term goals, you know that it's not aligned, it's a mismatch. Often people are in an environment and they cannot be their true self. They have to compromise who they are. They have to compromise their values to be aligned with the corporate values, the organization values. If it's a mismatch, yes, we do want to earn a living, but we know when we cannot be ourselves, it does affect us. Also, looking at your long-term goals, because we always think that way. We have our short-term goals, but also long-term, where do we want to see ourselves? And if this is a mismatch, it's time to consider not to invest any more time doing it, but invest time in seeking other opportunities, environment, organization, where you can be yourself, honor your values. Because once we start to compromise ourselves and what we stand for, it does have a negative impact on us. And finally, seventh sign that it might be time to consider doing something else or go somewhere else is when you feel like you lack purpose. It's when you start questioning the impact of the work that you do and feeling that you do not make a meaningful contribution. And that is a personal, it's something that's personal. Nobody can tell you what it was. It's you. It's always about you. So if this is how you feel about the type of work you do or where you work, the environment, if you feel like you do not have a purpose and feel like what you're doing gives a meaningful contribution, it just is. Uh, it could be a sign that it's that you are at a point of transition. As I said, as human beings, we grow. We all grow at different rates, but this is a sign that you have achieved a certain level and your sense of purposeful to being purposeful is no longer there, is not there. Hence again, if you feel like you're not making an impact and what you're doing is not meaningful, it doesn't give you a good feeling. It does impact on your the way you perceive yourself, impact on psychologically as well, because who wants to feel like what they do is not important, has no impact, is worthless? It's, so that could be a sign. And for each individual, it's different. But if you feel that way, it is probably a time for you to consider a transition or that you've reached a point, you're at a crossroad and it's time for you to pivot and for you to find where you will feel that you do something that's meaningful, that gives you a sense of purpose, that you contribute to the bigger picture. So we go back and we talked about 7 signs, and you might not have all of them. I'm just talking about signs that could be an indicator that you are at a point in your career where it's time to revisit and go where it is more aligned with who you are and what you want in your career, in your job. So the first one It's when you feel a constant sense that you have a lack of fulfillment. Sign number one. Sign number two, dreading each workday. Three, when you frequently daydream of being in another career, in another workplace, doing something different. Four, when you have physical and mental exhaustion. Five, when you feel like you're stagnating and there's little or no room for growth. Six, your values, your personal values, and your long-term goals are a mismatch with your workplace, with your work, with what you're doing. And seven, the sense of a lack of purpose, questioning if what you do has an impact and and the purpose of your work. So I'll leave you with that to ponder and observe if you ever feel any of these. And I'm not talking if it's just ephemeral, it's just a one-off, but if it's constant, if one of those feelings or more than those signs are present on a constant basis, it's definitely an indicator that it is time to look at another pathway, another trail to go, another environment for you to be your authentic self, feeling purposeful and feel like what you do is meaningful and that you can expand and grow to where you want to be. Until the next episode, wish you a great week. Follow me on YouTube, Yannick Seid, and subscribe, like, and share my channel. Until the next episode, take care of yourself. Bye.